Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars. And before I get into the Bitcoin chart for today, thank you guys very much for helping me reach 10,000 subscribers. I'm going to say a little bit more about this at the end of the video, but I of course wanted to start today's video by just thanking you guys and telling you that I'm very appreciative of you guys' support. Okay, now let's get into the Bitcoin chart for today. Since yesterday's video, we saw a bit of a further push to the upside following along this ascending line of support. And from there, we actually broke below that ascending line of support. So as expected, we saw some downside after that as well. So what should we do with this present day situation here? Well, first of all, potentially we are starting to form some kind of head and shoulders pattern here. Of course, this is not confirmed, but basically we could be forming the right shoulder here before we then eventually get some kind of breakout to the downside. And if we were to break out to the downside, it would set up a price target of about 83.5K in the Bitcoin price. For now, this pattern is not active yet because it would need to break out below this level here, sitting around this 88,000 US dollar level. So for now, not too much to worry about just yet. However, on this 30-minute time frame, you can see that we actually have a broadening wedge pattern. And typically a pattern like this will basically send Bitcoin or whatever you are looking at to the top and bottom of this range as the price action is becoming more and more volatile over time, of course, until it eventually either breaks out above or breaks down below. I would say in this case, if it is going to break anything, it will more likely be to the upside because this is a very steep trend line to the downside. Either way, what we can take away from this is that we should be open to the possibility of another move to the downside here, potentially even down to some much lower price action for Bitcoin, even around this 86,000 US dollar level, because we have already touched with the top of this trend line. And of course, even if we now get another move to the upside, we need to break above 90.7K in the Bitcoin price before we can consider this pattern to be invalidated. And likely, if we were to invalidate, if we break above that level of resistance that I just mentioned, likely from there we would see a further continuation to the upside as well, because then we are invalidating this potentially bearish outlook here in the immediate short term. On the 4-hour time frame, we are still in the process of potentially forming this triangle pattern. For now, we do have 2 touch points here, but ideally, if I'm really going to be looking at this as a triangle pattern, we get at least one more touch with the bottom of the triangle. I mean, theoretically, I guess you could look at this as 2 touches, but personally, I would really prefer us to get one more move before we then potentially get a breakout. And in that case, if we start breaking out, for example, above this descending line of resistance, that is sitting around 93.7K, you would basically just take the length of this triangle, and from there, it would set up a price target around this 111,000 US dollar price. However, it can, of course, also break to the downside. That is simply the case with these symmetrical triangle patterns. And in that case, it would set up a price target of about 68,000 US dollars. So some pretty serious price targets once we start getting out of this consolidation. Now, on this 1-day time frame, you can see that Bitcoin is still trying to reclaim this range here around this 91,000 US dollar level. But more interestingly, we do see that Bitcoin is now again getting close towards this descending trend line in the RSI momentum indicator. Now, before you get too turbo bullish on Bitcoin here, and I am talking about a big swing trade or something like that, I'm not talking about the lower time frames here, you could be looking for a break above this descending line of resistance in the RSI, because once this confirms, potentially even with a breakout retest resumption type structure, I do think likely we are going to be seeing bullish momentum coming after that for Bitcoin, potentially even reaching into overbought territory once again. Another thing about this RSI is if we are going to break to the upside here, I do think this is also going to coincide with us breaking to the upside above this symmetrical triangle resistance. So that could be a potentially very bullish setup there. However, until then, it is a bit risky to be taking big swing trades. Short-term trading, this is not really relevant because you're trading the lower time frames and you're in and out quickly on those trades. However, when the RSI is below this descending trend line, This thing can literally just turn around at any point, guys, and it should not be coming as a surprise if you start seeing this RSI turn around, and of course the price reacting with that as well. Now, this is not a call or a prediction, but I do want to have warned you about the RSI currently still being below this descending trend line. Next, moving on to the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. Currently, looking on this 3-day time frame, we have the biggest pocket of liquidity to the downside, sitting at 86.2K. And we have some liquidity to the upside as well, sitting around this 93.1K level and even this 91.2K level. So potentially in the short term, these could be some areas that the Bitcoin price is getting attracted to. However, on the 2-week time frame, we actually get a bit of a different story, because here most of the liquidity is actually to the upside. For example, around this 95.5K level. And notice how this is above this descending trend line as well. So potentially we could be seeing a breakout starting to happen sometime soon. We just have to be a bit careful if we're trading around this 95K level, because we are taking out a big level of liquidity there, and sometimes you will see the price turn around from there. So make sure you understand how invalidations work for breakouts like that. If you want to learn the basics of technical analysis and just leverage trading in general, I highly recommend you just go to rt1m.com, which is my website, where I have created a free trading course with over an hour of educational content about the basics of technical analysis, like I said, the basics of leverage trading as well. And this is completely free to watch. So just go to rt1m.com if you want to be a bit more savvy at the basics of technical analysis, so you don't make any mistakes here. But of course, nothing I say in my videos is financial advice. I'm simply telling you what I'm seeing in the charts, and you can do with that information what you like. Lastly, let's take a quick look at the Bitcoin ETF flow tables. Yesterday, we saw a small net inflow of about $20 million from the Bitcoin ETFs, most of it coming from the BlackRock Bitcoin ETFs. However, the other ETFs were net sellers, or they were net neutral. So again, for now, not too much going on here with these Bitcoin ETFs. We're seeing some inflows, we're seeing some outflows, not too much to say about that. Now, lastly, guys, just like I started this video with, thank you guys very much for helping me reach 10,000 subscribers. When I started this channel, I had no expectations basically of people subscribing. The first couple videos I had 2 views, 5 views. I was doing that for a couple weeks, and then it started growing, and I really didn't expect it. So every day when I'm reading the chat here, it just makes me proud of what the community has become. Currently we have close to 3,000 people inside this community. So honestly, yeah, it's just been amazing, and I want to thank you guys for supporting the channel. Recently, the big dog even donated 10 euros during one of the premieres of the videos for me to get a burger. So I posted this on Twitter. I actually got the burger. Look, guys, you don't have to send me money. I don't need your money, but I did want to share it in this video here, because this is another thing that I was very appreciative of. And of course, I enjoyed the burger as well. Either way, enough about that. This has been today's market update. Thank you very much for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.